silt settling to the bottom of the sea, fish flashing with iridescence, lightness, darkness meet, waves crashing on the surface.
Okay, I can't. That's enough.
All right, my bad.
Okay. Well, as you can tell, we are talking about the deep ocean today.
Nice and low.
Nice and deep.
Deep.
Nice and deep. But just to start out, what's new? What's going on?
Not much. We're getting back into the groove. It feels so good.
We are. We're getting back in here. Yep.
I love the deep because it's kind of dark. It's shadowy. The background of me, I love horror and stuff like that. I think we both do. So it's, I don't know. When I think of the deep ocean, you always think of mystery, right? I think when we were like talking about this topic, I literally texted you and I was like, I think I misspelled mystery like 4 times. And it took me a second, but you got it. It was mystery. That's the first thing that comes to mind with me is mystery. But when you look into it, there's so much information, and it's really interesting how much is coming out now that technology is finally catching up with the ability to visit there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know we've said it before, but 70% of the planet is water. Mm-hmm. And of that, it was something like 60% of the oceans are unexplored. So that right there, it shoves mystery into your face. What's down there? What's going on? Light doesn't reach down there.
Right.
The pressure is intense, insanely intense. And no light means no food. So how are these organisms living down there? How many organisms are even down there to begin with?
Right.
We really don't know anything about it. But there are people that are exploring it.
The funny thing about the people exploring them, though, is the sad part is because more people have been to space than have been to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, I think in total now to the bottom of Challenger Deep, which is one of the deepest spots, known deepest spots, I think we're at 4 or 5 total.
I think it was 4 or 5.
I'm pretty sure it was 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
Don't quote us on that. But yeah, it's crazy how few amount of people have been to the bottom of the ocean.
Right. And that's on our own planet.
Exactly.
And that's the huge error I think that we're having is, a lot of people are like, you hear that common thing, and I heard it in elementary school. I think the first time I heard it was like, the cure of cancer could be down there, And it's like, we don't know. We don't know what we're looking for down there. We're going down there with such an open mind. And so much of the blankness that it is and the darkness. Mm-hmm. And we're just going down there. And I think it was every time we make a trip down there. And when I say we mean humans in some form of technology of a deep sub. We're finding multiple things that are brand new to human discovery every single time we go down there. And if that's not a cue that we need to be spending more time down there and developing technologies down there, I don't know what else is.
Yeah, exactly. And most recently we've had Victor Viscovo. He's the most recent one. Yeah. In his, what was it, couple of million?
$40 million deep sub.
More than a couple million.
Yeah.
$40 million for a submarine.
That's just the sub. That was just he was telling me, or not to me, he was telling in the interview, that's the initial cost of that sub. That's insane. That wasn't R&D. That wasn't to get everything out there. That's just the vessel
itself. Actual material cost.
Right. And that goes to the point of who the people are going down there. Mm-hmm. It's this guy. And if you don't know him by now, James Cameron, and if you don't know who James Cameron is, if you've ever watched Avatar, Titanic, that's the same man. That man has been to the bottom of the ocean, and he has so much money. And these both men are just philanthropists that they are visiting the bottom of the ocean off of their own pure money. So that's the error I think we're having is, and like I said, back to it is they're discovering something every single time. Every single time, these own just rich men that they're just trying to entertain themselves almost.
Well, yeah, I mean they're scientists in their own mind. I mean, they might not have degrees or whatever in specific fields of science, but right. They still are scientists. They're still pushing the boundaries of what humans know. So that, I mean,
yeah, I think that here brings up a good point of like what a scientist really is science in itself is just about everything other than religion. So
I mean, there's even science and religion, though. Yeah. Science is just a way of thinking. It's just a way of questioning what's going on in your life and how that happens.
As long as you have a hypothesis to
exactly.
prove it.
As long as you have okay, here's the thing. There's a difference between science and actual scientific research.
Right.
Scientific research, you have to have a hypothesis. You have to have a plan to go and attack this one question that you have. Science in general is just everybody does it every day. You're questioning, why is this fruit rotting? Oh, it's probably because it's been sitting on the counter for 3 weeks. Like, it's not a specific thing. It's not a specific thing you have to study in order to be a scientist. Like, everybody thinks like that. Everybody's a quote unquote scientist.
Yeah. No, I like that thought. And because where I was going with that is these guys, the most recently, this vessel that's $40 million is it can make repeated trips in a short amount of time.
Yeah, so that was the big thing with this new vessel is it can, new. I think this was last year.
2019.
2019.
This is 2020.
Yeah, that it made it for its first trip. But it's the first commercially licensed vessel that can make repeated trips. So James Cameron did it in 2012, and that was awesome. But it was I think he only did one trip.
Yeah, it was
if
one
I'm not
trip,
mistaken.
and then it was a long amount of time before they could make another one, because that vessel can only handle so much pressure, and the amount of equipment that it took. They had to reset everything and make all those measurements and changes. The cool thing that this gentleman was saying about this new vessel is it's almost commercial based. Is it made, I think it was saying 10 trips it was 14 or 15 trips within a 10-day period of time.
Yeah, it was something pretty crazy like that, and they're spending 10 hours down there.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about it. So Challenger Deep, 36,000 feet deep.
That's higher. That's deeper than the height of Mount Everest.
Yes, by 10,000 feet ish. I don't know the top of. Hang on, I gotta look now.
Yeah. So the height of this thing, or the depth of this thing, is the height of the Mount Everest. So imagine going that deep down underwater.
So Mount Everest is 29,000 feet. So 29 to 36. So it's pretty close.
Yeah.
We're talking. That's crazy high.
7,000 feet deeper.
Now I'm getting confused.
Yeah, I know.
It's deep. That's insane.
It's 7,000 feet deeper than it is the height of Mount Everest.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't even comprehend being on top of Mount Everest.
I mean, when we dive, and we dive at 40, 50 foot, and you look up at the amount of water and the volume of water that's above you, it is staggering. It is terrifying.
That's crazy.
To imagine that amount of water, I don't even know what that is in miles. Like, to put that into perspective of distance is insane. You can't even do it, to the point where, obviously, if you haven't seen any images from the bottom of the ocean, no light reaches down there. There is no light whatsoever down there. And when they bring in an artificial light, I don't even remember how many lumens it was, and it just it looked like daytime when they turned on this little itty bitty flashlight. And it was just like, holy crap!
Yeah. So it's just under 7 miles deep.
7.
Isn't that crazy?
7
It's
miles.
It's hard to even think about it. That's deep.
That's deep.
And that's just straight down.
Well, no, the amount of pressure is, you don't think about what pressure is. That is literally 7 miles thick of water weighing down on whatever object you're in, or you in perspective.
Yeah.
I think we heard an interview, and it was 7 miles deep of water was like trying to breathe with the Eiffel Tower on top of you.
It was no, I think he said it was the Eiffel Tower on your small toe.
Yeah, so imagine an Eiffel Tower covering every inch of your body. That's just
8 tons per square inch.
That's insane.
1,000 times the standard atmospheric pressure at sea level.
That's crazy.
That's intense.
But what's even more crazy is we go down there and we discover these so many creatures that are
they're literally discovering 4 to 5 new species. New species every dive. Time. That's insane.
It's insane. And they're not even surviving, they're thriving down there.
Yeah.
They have developed themselves to every portion of that ecosystem down there, and that's what's crazy. And they've changed their bodies to adapt to that pressure. Yeah, it's
and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see how they've done it. I have a couple of examples here. So the stout black smelt. Yep.
Well, I think
they have giant eyes to capture the faintest glimmers, right?
By far my favorite, though, is the ass fish. Yeah, it's a real thing.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
This is a real thing. Look up the ass fish. This is a real thing. And you can't bleep this out, because ass fish is a real scientific term of this fish. And if you've been on any memes and you've seen the meme of this is like a sad day. The blobfish. That weird, super frowny thing that looks like this weird pile of skin.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. That is a blobfish. That is short term. I couldn't even read the scientific name because it was so long and confusing. It started with a PH. PH something, and I was just like, I showed you, and you chuckled too because it was like blobfish.
Yeah, it was blobfish. Yeah, it's crazy though how they've adapted to live down there. I think the craziest thing to think about is how cold it is. I mean, not only do you have this pressure, but you're also dealing with literally freezing or below temperatures. Like it's literally -1 to -4 or to 4 degrees Celsius.
Right.
Like that's cold.
And the only thing keeping it from not freezing, for everyone's knowledge, is just motion of current and obviously pressure. It's just, it won't.
Well, it's salt water.
And salt, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just, and of course too is like down there at those levels too is how many geothermal and volcanoes have they discovered underwater? It's untold amounts. And
Yeah, there's lots of geothermal action going on down there.
it's where plates meet, and it's, if you think about it, the way we're getting these trenches is tectonic plates pulling and pushing and doing all that craziness. But what's crazy too is even in those crazy hot temperatures that are underwater, that the craziest thing is what I was reading is you can have a temperature of water that was hundreds of degrees hot in a positive, and then next to it is below freezing temperature. Within is literally, you can see the line in the water.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy. If you've ever looked at a street on a hot day and you see the heat waves,
Thermocline.
imagine that times whatever.
We notice that when we're diving too. You can see it when you're diving.
Yeah.
You can actually feel and see the temperature difference, and you'll, especially on like a hot day or if it's been hot for a while,
Right.
the surface temp will be warm, and then as you drop, you'll feel that instant change.
Yes.
And that's what you call a thermocline.
It's kind of, yeah.
So when you're picturing that, I mean, we're diving 50, 60 feet,
Max.
pretty much max all the time.
Yeah.
We don't really ever go deeper than that, but thousands of feet down, like, come on, that's insane. That's just crazy.
Well, and the crazy part too is that the pressure difference is when you reach a certain level too, you start to fall faster because it's just, there's the depth and the amount of, air that's within everything. That's what's crazy to me. And I think when you said it is like and we've both said is the amount of creatures and life that we're discovering every time we go down there is, why are we not spending more time on our own Earth? Why are we not doing this more on a more, not even commercial level, but of a more scientific level? It's, you've got these guys, James Cameron and what was his name? The other.
Victor, sorry, where'd it go? Victor Viscovo.
Yeah, these two guys who are millionaires, and they're right, obvious, and they're spending their own time and money to do this. And they had stated that they've only taken a few scientists down there. Now, with Victor's vessel, the cool part is I think this is unlocking a whole new realm for us, and we'll probably start to see a lot more research and development come out of it.
Yeah.
Is we'll see more actual scientists within their field of study of marine biology, of microbiology, whatever it might be, of engineering, going down there to discover and, actually see firsthand what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, and like we said, all of this information came from 2019. I'm sure there's been more advances as of today. And I'm sure there's advances every day based on this technology. But just talking about 2019, I mean, we're looking at stuff that's literally brand new. It's crazy to think about how we have thousands of species possibly who aren't even being acknowledged. Like, we have no idea they're there.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. And it's crazy coming from a history background and being able to find sources. And it's becoming to a point with technology and being able to Google anything right at our whim, is finding something new and refreshing and that's never been researched before is very difficult. That's a constant subject within all of my classes, within all of my research groups, is, trying to find that small niche little thing that is very different and very new, to find that little sliver of history when these guys are going down on the daily and finding something new every single time. It's just right. The amount of information that we can gather and learn from is just insane. Well,
I think I talked about it last time. It's the difference is you have literally like thousands upon thousands of years of research going into the history that you're looking at from, thousands of years ago. You have tons of people who have looked into that. And today you don't. You have 1 to 2 people who are putting out this new research and looking into stuff. And so the amount of material that you have to look into is different, if that makes any sense.
No, for sure. I think we kind of touched on it a couple times too, is it's a lot of stuff going on in today's world is profit based.
Right.
And
Right.
these guys are spending their own money, and they know very well. And I think it reaches a level of, I guess profit or money that you have to finally be like, well, I want to, reach further into this and research this further and know that there's no profit in this because you realize you have that expendable amount of money.
Right. Right.
And it's unfortunate that it takes that, but at the same time, we have to look at it as a positive. It's that yin and yang, right?
Right.
These guys are using themselves almost in their own wallets to be like, I want to learn more about this. We know we want to learn more about this. And we can show so many more people the way of this with the technology that I'm helping to develop, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way technology is always developed. You got to have somebody who is willing to spend the money on something that they believe in, and that's where everything starts. And then from there, it just continues. So hopefully within the next couple of years, the next 10 to 20 years, we have commercially available subs that can take us to the bottom of the ocean. Because I would be totally down.
I would so much rather go to the bottom of the ocean than go into space. I don't know. It's like,
ooh, that's a tough one.
Would you rather?
I don't know. Would
you rather?
Whatever. I don't know. Space is just.
I don't know. It's
so. Here's the thing. Space is mind blowing because it's
indefinite.
Never ending.
It's indefinite.
It's literally never ending. It's like, how can you even comprehend that? The ocean is crazy because I think we have more experience with it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's in our heads, it's a little bit more crazy because we're like, okay, this is 36,000 feet deep.
Right. There's a measurable distance.
Like we know, exactly. We know how deep 60 feet is. So when we're thinking 36,000 feet, we can picture that.
Right. A lot
somewhat
easier than
indefinite space. Space is cool.
Yeah.
Ocean's cool. I don't know. It would be a tough decision. If I had to pick one, I really don't know what I would do.
Yeah,
I don't know.
For me, it would be the ocean. I've always been a way bigger fan of something that's tangible. Maybe I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it's something that I know I can reach the maximum of, right? Mm-hmm. And that's always been who I've been as a person, as competitively. It's like I know I can get to that point, so I'm going to go there, right?
Right.
Space, it's like also with space, it's once you hit other than the space station, you have to literally be beyond comprehensible money and anything to go to Mars or to anywhere with us, and that's I don't even know if it's in our lifetime. So I think the bottom of the ocean for me would be an easy choice.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about that type of concept, yeah, I think the ocean is probably closer as far as being able to do it commercially.
Yeah.
Than it would be, going to Mars or going somewhere further than Mars.
Yeah, I think round robin though, that's the main point here is like more people are spending their time to push people out further than they are to try and get deeper into our own Earth.
Yeah, I think we kind of started out, by we I mean humans, started out very curious about the ocean, and then when we found out how hard it was to get to the bottom, we kind of dropped it. It almost seems like we kind of just said, okay, yeah, it's this deep.
Yeah.
And moved on.
You could say the bottom of the ocean is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And there's no pressure in space.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true.
I mean,
it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting to see, how much we've put into space. And maybe it's just the glamour of it. It could just be the glamour of going to outer space, going to the stars, finding aliens, whatever.
Another form of life. And, it's in every form of life that we find in the deep it's to them, it's another form of fish. It's another form of jellyfish. It's another form of invertebrate. So it's in a family that we already have discovered rather than something that's out there or a mathematical equation or a radio signal or a light signal or something that we haven't before. So I think that's the appeal of it. But I mean, all these guys, every time they go down there, I think this is the impact of it is they're finding traces of humans at 7 miles deep. We're finding traces of humans, and when I say that, I literally mean plastic.
Yeah,
you're finding plastic at the bottom of the ocean, and the fact is, it's not just. I think that's plastic. It's these guys are literally like, that's a candy wrapper.
Yeah,
we can see a label on it.
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, that looks like a hump of something. It's literally like, oh, that is definitely a candy wrapper.
Yeah.
7 miles deep, straight down at the bottom of the ocean.
We are finding people as plastic.
Where literally less than 10 people have ever been.
Yes.
We are finding impacts of humans.
And that's what's crazy too is plastic is surviving down there. It's like these guys are literally spending $40 million to develop a piece of technology to get down there. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, there's a Hershey's wrapper floating on by. It's like that piece of plastic that costs so little to get down there, right? And it's just like, it just was discarded like it was nothing, and it's unfortunate that keeps happening. It's just, I think that's the true impact of what this really is.
And I think people need to realize that. They need to realize that this trash is not just going, outside your door, or when you throw it out of your car. It's not just going to stay on the street.
No.
It's going to make its way 7 miles deep into the ocean.
Yeah.
Like, come on. If you haven't even been there, how can you throw out trash that's going to end up there?
Yeah.
Come on.
The thing is, too, it's like, that brings me back to my point that happened last time. It's, it's people think like, oh, well, people are doing it. What am I, one person, going to affect? And it's,
yeah, that's the way it goes with a lot of things nowadays. It's a mindset that I think we need to start working on, especially when it comes to the environment. It's every single person is going to make a difference.
Yep. And we can see that already. I mean, with these two gentlemen, with James Cameron and Victor,
yeah.
It's James Cameron did 2 or 3 of these crazy deep dives within a couple years. And now Victor's doing 10 or 12 of these dives within a couple day span. So it's the fact is it is taking one person, and one person can make a difference. And he's a clear example of that. I mean, yes, he has resources that a lot of people don't, but at the same time, he started somewhere at nothing to get to building this $40 million sub to hit, 36,000
feet.
36,000 feet deep. And they're discovering things every single time. So
yeah, all it takes is one person. And even if your idea or your actions seem minuscule, they're not. They really do have an impact on everybody and this planet. And everybody needs to start realizing that because it's getting there. It's getting to the point where we need to start working as a team. And
it's team, I would say, is like the minimum of what we need. It's going to be like a family. I mean, we are all humans. That's all there is. It's humans. And we need to be working together to help Mother Earth.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have not found life in outer space yet.
So, yeah.
Maybe in the next 20 years. But
we haven't found life in outer space, but we're finding all these crazy amounts of life underwater, and everyone's just like, oh, cool. Space. Oh, you found all these life forms on this crazy deep dive in space. I hate that. Like,
really? I mean, it's okay. I agree with you on the fact that we need to focus on us first and preserving this planet rather than, I think, pushing to other planets, because I think we're using that kind of as a scapegoat. Like, oh, okay, well, we'll have Mars available, so we're good. No, that's not really the case. We need to focus on having us available first and having this planet available first.
Yeah. Rather
than pushing and saying, oh, yeah, in whatever 500 years, we'll be able to live on Mars.
Yeah. And for God's sakes, I feel like at this point, there's probably something that we can discover down there that's probably pretty changing to space out there. I mean, they literally do space testing in water. Because I think they do it mostly for zero Gs.
Yeah, it's the
testing
weightless
seals and stuff in the weightless.
Yeah.
But still, it's like without the ocean, without water, without buoyancy, which we all learned from the ocean, there's no fact about it. I mean, it's just they pulled that from that and then decided to go out with it with space. And it's I don't know. That's my big argument is we have so much still to discover about the ocean and the earth and everything, but that relates back to us. And it's if we're not doing the homework and the research that we should on earth to help the earth and to improve the earth, that's just negatively affecting us. At this point, there is no, unless aliens invade, why the hell are we going to have to go to another planet, within our lifetimes anyway. But the problem is I feel like there's 2 paths. If we take the path which we're on, which we want to improve, is helping the earth and helping the oceans, because the earth is 70%, and I think we said a different percentage on every time.
Roughly 70%.
Anywhere from like 70 to 73%. Yeah. 70% of our earth is the ocean. That is a sea. That's passing. Well, if we fail that 70%, we just failed the earth, we failed ourselves, and we just killed ourselves, right? So you can either look at it one way. You can spend all this money in the unknown, or we can spend all this money and literally know we're going to be discovering it and it's going to unlock itself because we're finding out. And it's statistically, if we're discovering that many things within a day, there's probably a math equation that will discover anything in the bottom of the ocean a lot faster than we will in space.
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, it's more likely that we will be at the bottom of the ocean within our lifetimes than we will be in outer space.
Right.
That's just how it is. It's easier and it's more feasible to go to the bottom of the ocean than it is to go to Mars. So far.
Yeah. Problem is, it's just not happening.
It's not. And it would be great to see more of it.
Yeah.
But you need those people who are willing to spend $40 million on a submarine in order to do it.
If you think about it too, it's like 40 million. And then if you compare like SpaceX's budget or NASA's budget, it's like, that's a drop in their bucket, right?
Well, okay, so the issue with that is we have to look at the space race, right?
Yeah.
Why did we start pushing to go to the moon?
Well,
to compete with other countries.
Yeah, and if you want to look at, if you want to look at Ronald Reagan's whole thing, it was to bankrupt another country, not company. Wow. But yeah, I mean, that's what that is. But now it's to the point where they're just going out there for almost entertainment factors. So,
right, but that's where it started. That's where the money came from to begin with, is that push for that, to be the first people on the moon. And so that, I think, has just continued. There's never been a race to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, and I think that race that has taken place between those few people, it's a very secluded race. It's a very private race that hasn't been, I guess, like publicized or, very well documented.
You're talking about the ocean?
Yeah. When they make these deep ocean dives and stuff like that, it's like we barely hear about it, right?
Well, yes, but I wouldn't call it a race, because you heard Victor in his speech there that he thanked James Cameron for his designs on his submarine.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, it's not like they're competing with each other. They're using the technology and they're growing,
helping each other out.
Yeah, and they're growing and advancing beyond that, which nowadays we are doing with space, but previously we were not.
But I think that's the point is it's like, until we each other did research into that, we never knew about that. We never knew about this Victor guy until we started learning about it.
Yeah.
And I probably can guess a lot of our listeners have never heard of, or even I feel like the only underwater exploration they knew about James Cameron was that he discovered or helped to uncover the lost wreck of Titanic. Mm-hmm. That's the only deep water exploration they knew James Cameron did, other than the fact, of the Titanic. They didn't know he hit the bottom, the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean. It's like, that's what's crazy to me. So it's just not in its eye. And we touched on that last episode too, is the effects of the ocean, the effect happening on the ocean is just taking such a backseat on media and everything because people think it's the ocean. It's there every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to close it out, a couple of cool things I found while researching deep ocean.
I'll let it rip, Tater Creole.
So the fishy smell that you get in fish is actually a protein or a molecule in their cells, and it basically binds to water molecules to allow them to go deeper. Now, when we have proteins in our cells, they grow bigger, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, under pressure, that doesn't happen.
Right.
So they use that molecule in order to bind to water to give the proteins more room to grow. So the deeper you find a fish, the more fishy it's going to taste. Or smell.
That's pretty interesting, actually. That's
right?
really interesting.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's no wonder rockfish and stuff like that are always kind of fishy. It's
a little bit more fishy than surface fish. Yeah.
Than a pelagic. That's holy crap.
Yeah. Crazy.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. Appreciate
no worries.
that.
And with that, we will talk to you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's it, guys.
We'll see you later.
Take it easy.
Have a good one.